walk-ins and FaceTime sales is done with the digital age. We have found that there's too many tasks before we get started. Everyone's here. Both of you have multiple variance requests. Typically, the way we do this is we'll give background on all of them, but we'll vote on one at a time. So you'll get some repetitive questions that should be there. There is one other potential item on the agenda that I don't see representative for that. So there is no problem. So yeah, we'll do that. Before it's 10:01, we will get started. This is the September 25th meeting of the License and Variance Board. I'm Richard Garland, the Parks and Recreation Director for the City of Smyrna. And to my left is Bo Jones, the Director of Water and Utilities. And to his left is Superman. That's Eric. He is the Director of Public Works. All right.
And Chief Cook and Bottle Washer.
There you go. That's right, when we have bottles. We'll get started with item A of formal business, which is a privileged license agent change request, and the agent is not present, so I will entertain a motion to move this to the bottom of the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Please vote. Okay, we will move that to the bottom of the agenda. If they make it, we'll proceed. If not, we'll table that at that time. Item B is a variance request V24-077 to increase the maximum impervious surface area from 45% to 50.03% on land lot 330 at 577 Lakeview Terrace. Matthew Berry is the applicant. There is a second variance for this, but we'll hear the background on both of them and then vote on them one at a time. So we'll take V24-077 first. Ms. Crow, can you give us the background, please?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Caitlin Crow, Planner 1 Community Development. So as you mentioned, we will be reading both of these variances. The first, as you just read out, is V24-077 to increase the maximum impervious surface area from 45% to 50.03%. And then the second variance today will be V24-078 to reduce the rear setback from 25 feet to 14 feet. So this subject parcel is a 0.16 acre lot located on the south side of Lakeview Terrace. So this existing home was actually built quite recently in 2003, and it was completed with a deck in place. However, on the approved set of plans, the deck was not represented. Thus, this deck is actually in the rear setback currently, as well as over that impervious surface area by roughly 5%. Once this new deck is being replaced, they're also adding a roof addition, which now makes it where it can't be legal non-conforming and must conform to current code. Because of this, we do need to have those two variance requests at this time, again for the impervious surface area and the rear setback. Since this existing deck has been there since the home was built back in 2003, the hardship is not self-created. So this existing deck is currently 16 feet off the property line. However, with the roof addition and the subsequent eaves, it will be about 14 feet off the rear property line, and thus the encroachment will be an additional 2 feet than what's represented on that site plan. So the impervious area, again, was approved at over the 45% back with the home without any subsequent variances. But since the stormwater ordinance doesn't differentiate between new and replaced impervious coverage, they did have to get this variance. The city engineer has reviewed their plan, which is actually already in place on the property. Since back in the day, they did have stormwater issues, which were corrected underneath this, so no additional mitigation efforts are going to be required. So after reviewing the variance application, staff is supportive of both requests and recommends your approval with the following standard condition. Approval of the requested variances shall be conditioned upon substantial compliance with the site plan and elevations submitted with the variance application. And I can answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions from Ms. Crowe? All right, thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Mr. Berry, could you step forward, please, sir? If you would, state your name for the record.
Matthew Berry.
Thank you very much. You heard Ms. Crowe offer the background on this request. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
No, sir.
Okay. You understand the conditions that have been placed on this as far as substantial compliance with what you've submitted?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
I do have a quick one. Ms. Crowe made reference to previous stormwater issues and some stormwater infrastructure that's in place that you maintain.
Yeah,
Can you clarify what those issues are and what's been done to correct that?
Sure. Well, we did not install them. We moved in 2018, and they had already been in place. There is some underground drainage and a retention basin that is built on the property, so it diverts water from, it keeps water from, deluging the backyard and diverts it to an underground retention.
Okay. So for full disclosure, I was previously the city engineer.
Okay.
And I recalled this was an issue, and I did remember what was done. I do remember that they had washed out their neighbor's driveway.
Oh, well, I learned
So,
something today.
There you go. So
Which neighbor? I'm curious.
downhill.
Downhill,
If I recall, and actually I just tried to look it up on Street View.
Yeah.
My recollection is you're upstream.
Yes.
uh,
It's
Yeah,
steep.
they built it on-
And they're right, we're all right on, 0.16 acres. We're all right. on top
Terrace
of
is
each
not
other.
just a pretty word.
Exactly.
Yes. I have no further questions.
All right. Good? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. If there's anyone here to speak for or against this variance request, please do so at this time. Let the record show there's no one else present in the auditorium this morning. And we will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve variance V24-077 to increase the maximum impervious surface area from 45% to 50.03%, land lot 330, 577 Lakeview Terrace.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is variance request V24-078. Reduce the rear setback from 25 feet to 14 feet on land lot 330 at 577 Lakeview Terrace. Matthew Berry is the applicant. Ms. Crowe, is there any other background information we need to hear on this request?
Not at this time.
All right. Mr. Berry, is there anything you'd like to add to this request? The same conditions apply to this variance request as the previous one. So as long as you understand you've got to be in compliance on both of those, we're good to go. Any questions for Ms. Crowe or the applicant?
No, sir.
Hearing none, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to speak for or against this variance request, please do so at this time. Again, there's no one else in the auditorium, so we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve variance request V24-078, reduce rear setback from 25 feet to 14 feet. Land lot 330, located at 577 Lakeview Terrace. Matthew Berry is applicant.
And I second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Berry. Next item on the agenda is variance request V24-079, and there'll be three variance requests on this property. 079 is reduce the front setback from 35 feet to 33.4 feet on land lot 453 at 961 Sharon Circle. Nick Vinson is the applicant. Ms. Crowe, the background on these, please.
Yes, thank you. Again, Caitlin Crowe, Planner 1, Community Development. So I will read out those three variances that will be combined together into this one application. And as you just mentioned, you will vote on them separately. So the first variance is V24-079 to reduce the front setback from 35 feet to 33.4 feet. Then we have V24-080 to reduce the street side setback from 23.3 feet to 15.6 feet. And then finally, we have the last variance of V24-081 to allow for a 6-foot wooden fence in the front yard on a corner lot. So this subject parcel is a 0.3 acre lot located at the northwest intersection of Ridgecrest Road and Sharon Circle. So the applicant recently purchased the property and is looking to fully renovate the existing home. Currently, it's about 1,240 square feet. The applicant is proposing an addition in the rear of roughly 570 square feet. This new addition will incorporate a new owner's suite with a walk-in closet and bathroom, a new deck, and a new carport, as well as a reconfiguration of that interior to make it a larger 3-bedroom, 3.5-bath home. So with the renovations, the home will be roughly 1,800 square feet, which brings it closer in line with the R15 floor area requirement of 2,000 square feet. So the existing home does have an uncovered little stoop area on the front that is very close to the existing existing setback of 35 feet. In order to do really any type of expansion, the applicant would be going into the front setback. In this case, it's going to be by 1.6 feet to make that front porch. Per the Cobb County Tax Assessor, additionally, the existing detached carport has been there since the home was built in 1953, which is prior to our current ordinance of 1974. The applicant is requesting to replace the carport in the exact same location, which has been vetted by the city engineer with no site distance issues. And since it has been there previously, the hardship is not self-created. Lastly, the property does have frontage on both Ridgecrest Road and Sharon Circle. Due to our fence ordinance stating that both of those are considered front yards, they could not go more than 4 feet on either Sharon Circle or Ridgecrest Road. As we know, Ridgecrest Road can be a pretty busy thoroughfare, so because of this, the applicant is proposing to replace the existing 4-foot chain link fence with a 6-foot wooden privacy fence, just for a little bit added security along the roadway. So after reviewing the variance application, staff is supportive of all 3 requests and recommends your approval with the standard condition. Approval of the requested variances shall be conditioned upon substantial compliance with the site plan and elevations submitted with the variance application. And just as before, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Crowe?
Question for you about, so
Yes.
could you clarify the location of the 6-foot tall fence? This is just the frontage on Ridgecrest and it extends past the front, or is this also going up Sharon Circle as well?
No, correct. It will just be along Ridgecrest in the same location that the existing chain link is. One of the documents that was submitted was an existing survey. It is showing it on the property line right there at the Redway, but it is just along Ridgecrest, and then we'll hook up back to the back of the house.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. No further questions.
All right.
All right,
Thank you, Ms. Crowe.
thank you.
Mr. Vinson? If you would state your name for the record, please. Good morning.
Nick Vincent, good morning.
Thank you very much. You heard the background that Ms. Crowe offered. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
I couldn't have done it better myself.
Well, that's why we
No,
asked her to do
there's
it.
not much to add. We do plan to take that fence and off Ridgecrest, probably a foot inside the property line, just to make sure we're inside our property line.
Okay.
Any questions for me?
The one question that I have, and that is not going to impact whether or not I am in favor of this. I'm just curious, as we're 200 square feet away from being able to meet the compliance for this, is there any reason why we couldn't get to 2,000 square feet, or just we don't want to, or?
It just wasn't in my set of plans that we drew
Okay.
for this property. I've replicated this plan 3 times. It's a very popular plan, so
Okay.
I can look at adjusting it, but more square footage, more money.
Sure. Okay. Any questions? All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak for or against this variance request, please do so at this time. Hearing none, we'll move forward with a motion.
I make a motion on variance request V24-079 to reduce the front setback from 35 feet to 33.4 feet in land lot 453 at 961 Sharon Circle with Nick Vincent as applicant.
Second motion.
Motion and a second. Please vote. That motion passes. Item E is variance request V24-080, reduce the street side setback from 23.3 feet to 15.6 feet on land lot 453 at 961 Sharon Circle. Nick Vincent, applicant. Ms. Crowe, is there any additional information we need on this request?
No, there's not.
Any questions for Ms. Crowe? Mr. Vincent, anything you'd like to add on this request? Any questions from Mr. Vincent? All right. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone here who'd like to speak for or against this variance request, please do so at this time. Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve variance request V 24-080, reduce the side setback from 23.3 feet to 15.6 feet, land lot 453, located at 961 Sharon Circle. Nick Vincent is applicant.
And second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. That motion passes unanimously. Item F is V 24-081, a variance request to allow a 6-foot wooden fence in the front yard of a corner lot on land lot 453 at 961 Sharon Circle. Nick Vincent applicant. Ms. Crowe, is there any additional information on this request?
Not at this time.
Any questions from Ms. Crowe?
Nope.
Mr. Vincent, anything you'd like to add on the fence other than what you've stated? And I think I probably need to say you understand there are conditions on all three of these that you have to meet. Okay, thank you. I'm going to hit you if you don't mind. All right, any questions for the applicant?
None.
All right. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to speak for or against this variance request, please do so at this time. Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve variance V 24-081 to allow a 6-foot wooden fence in the front yard on a corner lot, land lot 453, located at 961 Sharon Circle, with Nick Vincent as applicant.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we will go back to item A that was moved to the bottom of the agenda. This is a privileged license agent change request, beer and wine pouring, Sunday sales, and special hours at 2579 South Cobb Drive Southeast, Smyrna, Georgia. Niger Cuisines African Restaurant and Bar, doing business as Niger Cuisines with Pasquata Storman as agent. Is there anyone here? Okay, please step forward. Would you give us your name and address for the record, please?
Frisquita Stroman.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to talk about this, but the first thing that we have to do is we have to entertain a motion to modify this request.
Yes,
Okay, so we'll do that first, and then if you'll just hang with us for just a second.
I make a motion to modify license 2024-022, privilege license agent change request, to eliminate the provision for Sunday sales and special hours, for this to be the,
Just special hours.
special hours.
Yep.
Just special hours, thank you. Let me amend that for that the revision is for special hours only, to eliminate special hours only.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Your right
Oh,
hand.
my bad. It's been a rough one.
It's
been a rough morning.
This is the
I'm
tools
so
they give me to build.
It's so cold. It's the cold. It has them a little frozen this morning.
Okay, so now what we are doing, just for clarification, is this is a privileged license agent change request for beer and wine pouring Sunday sales at 2579 South Cobb Drive Southeast, Smyrna, Georgia. Niger Cuisines African Restaurant and Bar, doing business as Niger Cuisines and Fajeta.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, Storman. All right, so we do have some questions that we'd like to ask you. I think it was about a year ago that there were some violations that you guys had to deal with, and I'm just want to ask what steps have been taken to this point to ensure that those violations have been mitigated and you guys have kind of addressed that with your staff and the way that you operate.
We do now, instead of, we was doing like yearly alcohol classes and bringing someone in to go over, you know, the new rules, regulations, and stuff like that. So we changed that to quarterly now. And then as the new employees come in, we train them once they come in before they even start serving. And we also have a new machine where you can verify whether or not the IDs are fake, whether or not they're underage, to help with that part.
Okay. The other question that I would have for you is, there are, based on what we are hearing as a body, there are still some complaints that are coming in from the neighborhood around the restaurant. Are you aware of those complaints, and are steps being made to try to resolve those issues?
We did have a noise complaint, and what the officers did, what we did was put in soundproof wall, and the officers did come to, I guess, listen to it, and they said it was fine. It was no citations given or anything for it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Can you tell this body, because you are going to be the person who is going to be receiving this license, what kind of training have you received, and what's your background in managing facilities like this?
I have received my training in the alcohol and everything. I have my alcohol license. I also been working with this facility for years now. So I do have background from working in clubs and stuff like that from back at home in South Carolina. So I have like plenty of training in it
Okay.
and management and.
And you mentioned that you all are now doing quarterly training with all of your staff?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And your POS system is set up to, or how is your POS system set up? Is it part of the checkout process or part of the ordering process, or how are you checking IDs to ensure that? What process are you using to ensure that you're not serving underage?
Underage?
Yeah.
Like I had stated, we have the machine, and also we do, because some people do come in and because of the license is so long, they might do turn of age prior, and still have the vertical license. So we do a 1, 2, 3 check. They'll get it, they'll check it, and then if they aren't sure, well, they also have to do the machine. But some people are still unsure. So they have to bring it to management for us to do like a second, third check to verify, to make sure.
Okay. And you've completed all the backgrounds and all that came back fine?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right. Are there any other questions?
Just a quick clarification.
Yes, sir.
So you've worked with this facility for a while in your background. Have you served as an agent before, or have you simply served in the
Management
industry?
department.
You served as a manager, but
Management.
not as the agent itself.
Correct.
What do you see as the distinction between the two?
The,
How is your role going to be different now that you're the agent?
I have more control of what's going on.
Okay, so
Yes.
your word, you can affect changes if somebody's not doing something?
Correct.
How do you you can't be there 24/7. How do you communicate that? What's your internal communication process? Does this just go through managers to servers, or do you have a book there that says this is what's going on? I worked in a restaurant for about
Yeah.
5 years.
Okay.
So we had a kitchen book, and yeah, it was a long time ago before computer stuff. We had a manager's book of what are the issues, what are we out of, and so on, that we started every shift with a review of that book. What kind of a system do you have in place?
It's something similar to that, but more computerized.
Okay.
More computerized.
So somebody
So-
can't come in and say, I didn't know, and.
Right. It's more computerized because you have to, once you check in, everything is really computerized. So once you check in, I have everything there for you, computerized of, okay, we have one of this, we have that. I don't want to say a checklist, but maybe something.
It's points you need to know.
Yes.
I understand. And one thing I wanted to confirm, this is for on-premises sales only.
Only.
There's nothing coming in from outside, correct?
Correct.
If somebody does, how do you respond to that?
They won't be allowed in.
Okay. All right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Randall mentioned not being able to spend 24 hours in the facility. How many hours a week do you spend in the facility?
Once I get off, I go in there, and on weekends, I'm there every weekend. So I don't even know how many hours. A lot,
A lot, okay. All of the staff know you and know your expectations.
yes.
Okay, excellent. Mr. Randall also alluded to the brown bagging. That's not allowed in the city of Smyrna, and you understand that?
Yes.
You also
clearly.
understand that part of the reason why we put you through this is the city takes this pretty seriously, as you
Yes, sir.
guys have been subject to. The police will be checking. That's random, so be aware of that. They
Totally
do make
understand.
compliance checks to ensure that you guys are doing what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you very much. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. You can have a seat. We'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion for license application 2024-022, privilege license agent change request for beer and wine pouring at 2579 South Cobb Drive, Southeast Smyrna, Georgia, 30080. Nija Cuisines, African Restaurant and Bar, doing business as Nija Cuisines and Frisquita? I'm abusing the pronunciation. Stroman as agent, and if I did not clarify, that is for an approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion passes. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes, MAN 2024-0-151, approval of the September 11th, 2024 License and Variance Board meeting minutes. Have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Seconded?
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. That motion passes. Is there any other business to come before the board? Hearing none, we will adjourn.
Did I?